Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Blaze McKenna and today I'm going to show you how I custom colored my tape-in extensions I'm currently wearing from Full Shine Hair. If you're new here, hi. If you're returning, you may notice that my backdrop looks a little different. My husband and I finally bought a house and moved, so it is a work in progress, but I'm so excited to have my own space again. Alright, so I'm going to start by showing you what the extensions looked like when I received them. They are super high quality, surprisingly, for the price point. They worked phenomenally. I did have some issues when starting to color them, but I figured it out. And I went from super blonde, like platinum blonde, to this gorgeous red we have here. I would like to add that Full Shine Hair sent me these extensions free of charge in exchange for creating this video, but I am giving my honest opinions and everything that I actually did. So just FYI. And as always, if you enjoy what you see, please like, subscribe, and comment if you have anything you want to add. I will be linking everything down below in the description, so the hair I used, the products I used, etc. If you want any of that info, if you don't see it or hear it, it will be linked below. PSA, I am not a cosmetologist, hairstylist licensed. I just do this for fun for myself. And I always advise consulting a cosmetologist when it comes to hair and hair extensions. One other thing, in one of my last tape-in videos, could have been the last one, don't remember, I had so many comments and requests to share how my tape-ins blend so well with my short hair and how they're installed. I have tried to film that video multiple times now, and every single time I have major issues that require me deleting all the footage. So I'm sorry that that hasn't happened yet. I also went from tapes to sew-ins to not wearing extensions to clip-ins, and now we're back to tapes. So I can finally hopefully make that happen in my next go round of getting these reinstalled. But just FYI, I'm not trying to hold out on you guys. I've just had some issues. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and let me show you what the hair looked like when it arrived and how I was able to color it from blonde to this beautiful red we have here. Alright, so here's what the extensions looked like when they arrived from Full Shine Hair. They came with some extra tapes, and I ordered 6 packs. Each pack is 50 grams and 20 pieces of hair. The color I got is 60, and they're 18 inches long. Personally, I ordered 6 packs because I have very thick, blunt cut hair, and I needed all of it to blend. I could have probably used even one more pack, but I didn't want to go too overboard. This hair is extremely soft and doesn't tangle very much, surprisingly. Right here it looks like it was tangled, but it was just stuck to the tape. I'm also very impressed with how thick this hair is, all the way from the top to the ends. See how thick the ends are? Most extensions are very thin at the ends, and you have to end up cutting a bunch off. And this is what all 6 of the packs of hair look like together. It's a lot of hair, and most people don't need this much hair, so do your research before ordering, but typically people need about 4 packs. But it really depends on your hair and what you want your extensions to do for you and how you want them to look. Alright, so here is just about everything that I use to color my extensions at home. First up is my color brush. I found this one at Sally's. It is from our brand. It works very well. Absolutely love this brush. Next is my mixing bowl, also from Sally's. It's nothing special, but surprisingly works very well. I also use this little scale that is meant to weigh food in the kitchen, but it works very well to make sure that I am using the correct amount of product, especially when doing different ratios. And if you don't have a scale, you can use a measuring spoon, but I really prefer the scale. And if you're mixing different colors or mixing color with developer, a whisk definitely comes in handy. I would recommend a smaller one, but I found this one at the Dollar Tree, so I just use it. And since we are dealing with chemicals and possibly vivid colors, definitely recommend gloves, not only for coloring, but also washing the hair, as well as wearing an apron and or clothing that you really don't care about, because you're going to get color everywhere. And of course, you're going to need whatever color you'll be using. I used Wrath, Poison, and Ritual from Arctic Fox. My ratio was 2 parts Wrath, 2 parts Poison to 1 part Ritual. And originally I was actually planning on doing a permanent hair color from the Ion brand, but I had nothing but difficulties, so I will kind of get into that a little bit more. But just be aware that this process can involve multiple trips to the store and lots of trial and error, and you never know what's going to happen. And because we're working with what we got here, I use this dingy old baking sheet that I don't care about and completely wrap it in plastic wrap, like the entire thing, multiple times, just wrap it. And of course, you'll need something to wash and condition the hair, so shampoo and conditioner. I've been really loving this brand, but you can basically use whatever you want as long as it's safe on color and salon quality. All right, so here's what my little setup looks like. It is nothing fancy, but again, we're working with what we have and making it work. So as I mentioned earlier, I had nothing but difficulties with the permanent products. So the hair on the left that looks dry, those are my old extensions that I'm trying to match the color to, and the others are what ended up happening. And this is why we always do a test strip before coloring all of the hair. And here are even more of my test strips. So the bright red ones are when I was starting out with the Arctic Fox trying to get the formula right. Darker purpley looking ones are ones that I tried to use the Ion permanent color on, which perfectly matches my hair and does not turn purple, but for some reason it was turning these extensions purple. So no matter what ratio I did, that's what it was looking like. Eventually, I figured out what worked and what didn't, and thankfully, I was able to get all of those extensions to somewhat match or blend into my hair. I did have some darker pieces, but they became much more red than purple. And here I am adding the colors to the mixing bowl, making sure the weights match so we can get the correct ratio. That is super important. And here's what the 3 colors look like together in the bowl. I just ended up using my color brush to mix them because I was doing a test strand at this point, not an entire bowl full. And here's what the color looks like all mixed together. And for each strand I was coloring, I actually put together 2 pieces, so it was like a typical sandwich of the extensions. This way it didn't take as long, but I was still able to get the color saturated all the way through. You don't want to do a big bunch of hair, color it all at the same time, because you won't be able to get the color all the way through and you'll have splotchiness. So as you can see here, I have 2 strands laying out. The first one has already been colored. The second one I am coloring. You may also notice that the colors on these look a little bit wonky. These are my test strands that I colored originally and ended up having to fix. The footage I took coloring these had a much better angle and turned out a lot better looking than the footage using the color I ended up going with. So please just ignore the color on these, but focus on the technique. You want to make sure while you're coloring to keep the extension in place as much as possible so you can control it, and you don't want to get color on the tape. If possible, don't install the actual tape onto the piece of hair until after you've colored, washed, and dried, because this process can sometimes damage the adhesive, so just be aware of that. But in this case, they arrived with tape on them, so there wasn't much I could do. Anyway, as you can see, I'm basically just brushing the color on evenly, making sure the hair is completely saturated. I do this on one side, then flip it over, do it on the other side, and then I go in and add even more color and kind of brush it back and forth to the sides, making sure that it is fully saturated and there aren't any pieces I missed, because sometimes the hair can roll onto itself and create clumps, and the inside of the clumps won't get as much color on them. At that point, I pick up the hair, move it around, make sure again that there aren't any spots I missed, make sure to get all the ends, all the little pieces that you might have missed. Really just double check your work on every single piece, because you never want to have a big chunk of hair that got missed or splotchy or looking weird. This process is very time consuming, but if you have a hair color that just won't match any extensions you can find, you really have to do it yourself unless you want to hire someone else to do it. And personally, I don't want to have to put anyone else through this. I would rather just do it myself, even though it is tedious and takes quite a long time. but it can be very rewarding when in the end you have hair that perfectly matches your own and you can look at it and say, man, I did this myself. All right, so now we are back to the extensions that I ended up going with the color on. I'm comparing them to my previous extensions, making sure that the color matches, and indeed it does. I also recommend actually washing and drying the hair first and then comparing it to what you're trying to color match, just to make absolutely sure that it is the right color ratio before you keep going. So from this point on, you can go ahead and color the rest of your extensions because now you have the right ratio and all of your extensions should turn out the way you want them to. So here's what all of my extensions looked like after I had colored every single one of them. Honestly, it looks like a really messy scene from Dexter, but anyway, the one largest pile is the one that I got the color right on, and then the two other piles are ones that I had to color correct, so either make them lighter or darker. And like I said, in the end, they all turned out looking relatively close. And now we can finally wash them out. Once again, please ignore the color. This footage was better than the actual color. Anyway, the first step is rinsing out the extensions. I'm doing them in smaller sections, which I highly recommend. It's easier to wash them out. It takes a little bit more time, but you make sure to get all of the product out. And the number one most important thing in this step is also ensuring that you don't saturate the tape area. It's extremely difficult to keep from happening, but try as best as possible because once again, it can destroy the adhesive. So essentially when washing these out, I take a decent amount of shampoo, not too much, but enough. We want to make sure to get all of that product out of there. And I start at the top of the extension below the tape, lathering in the shampoo and bringing it down to the bottom gently. You don't want to just smush these around because they will get tangled very easily. You have to be very gentle washing these out. And once again, we rinse them out in just about the same way, again being very gentle. I also recommend for the entire washing process to use gloves and the coldest water that you possibly can, because this color will bleed and most vivid colors do. So once the shampoo is completely rinsed out, go ahead and take the conditioner, a decent amount, not too much, not too little, and run it through the hair gently, making sure the hair is completely saturated in the conditioner. And normally I would let these sit for quite a while, but for the purpose of this video, I rinsed them out pretty much right away. I like to let my conditioner set in for like at least 5 to 10 minutes, but do what you do. And this is what they look like after being washed and set out to dry for a day. I left them drying flat overnight, and then I put them in groups onto hangers of all things because I needed them blow dried right away, but if you can, let them air dry as long as possible. And here are my new colored tape-ins compared to my previously used clip-ins. I was trying to get the color to match almost perfectly. I wanted them a little bit brighter. As you can see, the dark pieces are there on the bottom to show the difference. Anyway, they turned out almost perfect. Couldn't be happier. I think they look beautiful. And here's a quick little comparison in the salon before and after and how well they match with my natural hair. And that about sums up the process of how I was able to transform these tape-in extensions at home by myself. It was a lot of work, and I would not recommend, but I know that a lot of people don't have any other options or they want to do it themselves. So just know that it takes a lot of time, especially if you're doing as many extensions as I did. I used 6 packs and it probably took about 2 days of solid work. So anyway, I couldn't be happier with the results. I think they turned out phenomenal, and I absolutely love having long hair versus short hair, and I like doing it myself. I like knowing what goes into it and learning things. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them below. Like always, please like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at Blaze McKenna, and like I said, check below. Everything should be linked. If it's not, leave me a comment. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.